Well, Marcin, I am excited to be doing this with you. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I guess we could start by, just telling us a little bit how you got started with Malwarebytes.
Yeah, sure, Scott, and thanks for having me. I've been a big fan of the IT business owners group for some time. As you know, I've been lurking there once in a while when I see Malwarebytes or any other security stuff. I kind of jump in. So really excited to be doing this with you, and really appreciate you having me. Malwarebytes has a pretty unique founding story. I myself was actually affected by a cyber threat back in 2003, and we were paying for McAfee or Norton at the time, and it's just sitting there, happily in the right-hand tray icon corner. And this is 2003, and so I get infected with malware, and I think at the time it was something like Bonsai Buddy, right? A purple gorilla jumping around your screen trying to sell you crap. I mean, it wasn't anything like sophisticated threat-wise as we're all dealing with today. And I didn't know what to do, right? We were a pretty poor family, couldn't go to a repair shop or Geek Squad or whatever existed at the time. And so I had to take matters into my own hands. I searched for my symptoms on Google, right? Like what everybody else on the call would do today. And I found a message board called spywareinfo.com. No longer exists, or exists in a different kind of domain name. I posted my question. I said, hey, here's what's happening with my computer. Things jumping around. I have McAfee. What do I do? And Mika from Belgium, I can't make this up. Mika from Belgium, she works with us today, so that's how I know who
Oh,
this is.
wow.
But Mika from Belgium like gave me 30 pages of instructions and said, go run all these tools, go fix your problem this way. And like I followed all of those instructions, and it was a bunch of free utilities like Hijack This. I mean, all the stuff that you've heard of, and a bunch of crowdsourced things. And after 3 days of chaos, I'm like, geez, finally the computer's back to health. And I learned a lot, obviously, about the internals of Windows at the time. But I vowed that I would never let this happen to myself ever again, and I'm gonna help others with it. So anyway, long story short, I decided to stick around this forum. I picked up a few programming books. I learned the internals of Windows, all the utilities that were out there, and made some trouble on this forum. And eventually, me and Bruce Harrison, my co-founder, decided we're gonna go tackle this problem. This is bullshit. Why are all these AVs? Why do all these AVs exist? And none of them can actually remediate. None of them can actually prevent. They're literally smiling in the bottom right-hand corner of my tray as I'm getting infected. And we quickly realized that it was a big problem for the industry. And so that's how Malwarebytes was really born. I'm sure you heard about it sometime after that. We were the free tool to fix other people's problems. So.
So how did you transition from being the free tool? You guys still have free. It's still free for personal use, right?
Yeah, Malwarebytes is remediation is free. At the end of the day, I want people to see their AV failing, whether that's in the 14-day trial that they just installed, or a year later or 2 years later. And so like if you go to our website, there's a link, malwarebytes.com/remediation map. And it's a map of the world. It's totally marketing, right? Like it's totally marketing, but it's real data. And it's a map of the world, and in real time, it shows you where we're disinfecting a machine, what AV they had installed, and what malware we detected. Now, some of it's
Wow.
generic and this and that, but if you bring it up, it's not like one every couple minutes. It's one every second. Like that's how
Wow.
bad these AV competitors are. And even Windows Defender, I'm sure everyone on this call, I think we see what Microsoft has done and Defender and all that, but Defender is the biggest offender, is what I
Wow.
like to say. So yeah, I mean the product is still free. You could use it, and we make our business and grow our business off of protection, right? People that realize that their AV it let them down at home or at work, and that's how we've built our business up.
Well, we've been proud supporters, even in my own IT business that I've had for over 15 years. We've used the Malwarebytes brand and trusted for years and years and years, long as I can remember.
Well, we appreciate it, Scott. And look, there are great competitors out there that are doing great work and have great technology. But then there's the dinosaurs in the space that we all know. We've all nobody goes around and says, "Boy, I love my McAfee or my Norton," right? and yet these are multi-billion-dollar businesses, believe it or not. So I think there's a big opportunity to disrupt the space. You all are champions of that, and we're super appreciative.
That's awesome. So when you were starting Malwarebytes, was there, how hard was it to come up with the brand, the logo? How did you get all that started? I mean, because honestly, how many employees do you have now? 800 employees or more?
We're about 800 people worldwide. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and so proud of the team and so happy for their success. But I am not a creative genius, Scott. I'll tell you that. Malwarebytes, the brand was gifted to me, believe it or not.
Wow. Okay.
So here I am building like these free tools in Visual Basic 6 of all programming languages, and I won't even get into that. And they're helping people, IT professionals. They're helping people on the message board. We built products called Rogue Remover. We had the Malwarebytes product, of course. There were just a variety of free utilities, Startup Lite. And somebody noticed, hey, Marcin, you're doing some really cool stuff and you're on this message board. Have you thought about maybe creating a website where you can host all your utilities? And I said, no, I hadn't really considered that. So somebody came to me and said, I have this beautiful domain for you, malwarebytes.biz. Why don't you take it? I went, that's a dumb name. Well, here we are, something like 15 years later, and it's everywhere, right? It's on the pillow, it's on the. I can't go back at this point, but I thought it was a cheesy name, right? Malwarebytes, like bytes on a hard drive. Malwarebytes, malware sucks, right? But that's how it all got started. Malwarebytes.biz, $9 domain name, which I couldn't afford at the time, was just given to me, and a friend was providing hosting at the time, so it was just totally community built, bootstrap, grassroots movement. I mean, these people, I call them superheroes to this day. I call all of you superheroes, helping people, but they were doing this, on their spare time on a message board. I mean, where do you see that anymore, right?
God, you mentioned bonsai, buddy. I remember that, but it's like way back at the back of my mind. I haven't heard that in forever.
It was like the Clippy of spam, right? Like the spam version of Clippy.
I think it was. So let me go back a little bit though, because I really want to dive deep into, how you became a CEO and, where you got your entrepreneurial spirit from.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you. How I tell the story of my entrepreneurial beginnings. So, I was born in Poland. We moved to Chicago when I was about 4 years old, and again, American dream. Family moves, no money. We live in a bad neighborhood in Chicago. My parents separate. My parents get divorced, and my mom starts working like a factory. She was a factory worker where they produced strobe lights. So
Okay.
on planes or police cars, she was hand building the strobe lights. Long story short, my stepdad, his uncle owned the factory. My mom worked there. That's how they met. He's been a big influence on my life. And he on the side created a cleaning business. Funny enough, I'm in a cleaning business, just a different type of cleaning business, I always say. But he owned a physical cleaning business, like cleaned offices, late at night. And one of the customers was his uncle's factory where he worked. Uh, Company did well. We made enough money to move out into the suburbs, good neighborhood. I started going to school. This is me as a kid, right? And the cleaning business was doing so well that they had more offices to clean. And my dad, of course, didn't have many employees, so he had to clean them himself. So a lot of the cleaning happens at night because people are at work during the day. You can't really clean
Sure.
an office during the day. So here I am, a kid, troublemaker. My mom's like, we're not leaving him at home. We're taking him to work. So I'm doing homework, but really I'm causing chaos, right? So a lot of the locations we cleaned were doctors' offices, and for whatever reason, these doctors just had no. I don't know how this happened, but staples kept getting wedged in the carpet. Okay, and we had a shitty vacuum cleaner. My dad's like, this thing's gonna break if it picks up a staple, and the whole thing's gonna explode. So Marcin, you're a troublemaker. We're gonna keep you occupied. I'm gonna give you 1 penny for every staple you pull out of the carpet, right? And so I'm walking on my hands and knees pulling out staples, and I like to say that's how I became an entrepreneur. I also like to say that one day my dad caught me in the side office with a stapler, and that's how I learned ethics, because that was a whooping. So I don't know. That's kind of the joke I tell my friends and my family. Realistically, my dad was a huge influence on me. He bought me my first programming book. I really dug in. I really enjoyed programming. I thought I could help, and the rest is luck, as they say. And I've been fortunate to meet a lot of great people along the way, including people like you. And I realized that if you just build cool stuff, the rest will follow. So
That's great. Well, so you've built this company up, and it's one of the most well-known, industry respected cybersecurity companies in the world. That's a tongue twister. Say that 5 times backwards. Um, but so what is your current vision for Malwarebytes?
yeah, I mean, our mission is to liberate people and businesses from cyber threats. I know that sounds marketing mumbo jumbo, but it's true. I believe in a world where cyber threats are not affecting people and businesses. My vision is to democratize access to security for consumers and SMBs. That's our focus. The very large enterprises in the world, they have hundreds of tools, tens of people in security, millions of dollars in budget, and consumers and SMBs and MSPs have been left behind. We don't
That's
get
true.
sexy EDR functionality. We don't have the people to throw at the problem. And so my vision is to make the most effective and intuitive and inclusive products for consumers and SMBs. And it's as simple as that. And it's building intuitive products that don't need a ton of people managing it, so that you can forget about security in a way, and feel protected. And that's for consumers, SMBs, and MSPs. And that's really it. That's the crux of it. It's what I've been doing my entire life.
Well, that's awesome. So again, you have over 800 people. How do you single-handedly keep your team engaged at Malwarebytes?
It's really easy when you have a mission like that, right? Like, let's take Elon Musk. It's not like he pays better than any other company or has the best working conditions or the best work-life balance, right? He tells people he wants to go to Mars. I mean, that's pretty damn compelling. And I do believe, having that kind of mission of, this is where we're aiming. We're aiming to democratize security. Our mission is to liberate people from cyber threats. I think it's pretty powerful, and people can get on board with that. Alignment's difficult, right? I mean, everybody's unique. Everybody, has a different understanding of the business. They play a different role. So we definitely have a lot of collaborative meetings. We have all hands where we share pretty openly everything going on in the business. I think that information is super powerful to our people. So I'm not a believer of working for a company that evades tough questions or doesn't share financials, the good, the bad, the ugly. I've made it. And look, Scott, I have the benefit of never having well, I've worked for one person in my life, but I've never worked for a company, which, like, in some ways, I came in clean slate. How do I think people want to be treated? Well, like me, right? And so turns out if you do that, people really lean in, and if you have a compelling mission like we do, I think people can get behind that. So the alignment kind of comes naturally.
That's a great philosophy. And I have to ask you, do you want to go to Mars?
Didn't what did Elon Musk say? He's like, yeah, I want to go to Mars, but I don't want to die by impact or something like that. So I mean, hey, in our lifetime, more and more people are going to be in space. That's pretty darn cool. I'm a big, aviation fan. I'm a big space geek. Wish I knew more about it, but I don't know. I'd rather, sure, I'll go to Mars. Just I don't want to die on impact, I guess.
I just don't want to be one of the first people to go.
Exactly. And never be able to return. I might regret that. So.
So I've got kind of a little bit more of a difficult question for you. So you've been running the business since about 2008, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So in that time, have you really had any difficult experiences? Anything that's just, for lack of a better word, rocked your world? And if so, how'd you handle it?
Yeah, it's a great question, Scott. I'm sure everybody on this call has had the ordinary set of business challenges, right? You set off on the year and you expect to do some amount of revenue. You don't do that. Your best employee quits. I mean, those are hard, right?
Sure.
And certainly every one of us on this call deals with that every single day. You as well, Scott. The one I'll definitely bring up is so in our industry, right? So we do endpoint protection, right? we try to prevent the bad guys and gals from taking over unique individual devices, whether that's blocking access to RDP ports, using our brute force protection or our EDR product or all the cool technology we've built. The problem with that is it's prone to false positives. Again, every single one of you guys have dealt with a false positive, whether it's an email provider or your endpoint provider. And of course, there's severity to those kinds of false positives. We detected a benign file. It can be restored. Life is good. Sorry we did that. That's really unfortunate. We'll keep tuning our algorithms. And as the cyber world has gotten more advanced, like Malwarebytes, when we started in 2008, already MD5 signatures of malware was completely useless. Our competitors were writing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of signatures per week of just MD5 of the file, put it into the database, ship the database. And this is why all these AV vendors are so hefty, in terms of CPU usage, RAM usage, hard drive space, update size. We had to reinvent that whole game. And I hate the words machine learning and artificial intelligence and all that because they're overused in every industry. But when you look at what we do, right, we look at large samples of malware, we look at characteristics and so on and so on. So as you go more into that approach, it becomes more error prone, more false positives. So, actually detecting something that's as malicious that really isn't. Well, sometime in 2013, my co-founder, our VP of research, was in our office here in Santa Clara. Not often was he in the office with me. He lived on the East Coast out in Boston, and this time he was. And he walks into my my area. We didn't really have offices, my area, and he looks like pale as a ghost. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. What happened? Turns out we pushed out a new model that detected a Windows critical file. And again, every vendor has done this over the years, as you know. And it took down 1 million devices in 8 minutes. So 1 million devices. So here we are, right? Like I always wanted to be this superhero. I wanted to help the world, like all these people on the message board originally were. And I just destroyed 1 million devices in eight minutes flat. And it wasn't just consumers. It was 911 call centers were down.
Oh.
It was hospitals having to reschedule surgeries. It was, you name it, critical infrastructure affected. And I mean, that was a gut punch for sure. And we reverted in 8 minutes and we attempted to perform the fix. But once those files were done, they were dead. They were dead. I mean, our product, for better or for worse, knows how to remove files pretty effectively, whether they're Windows files or not. Now there's safeguards to prevent that, but by design, we've built a very effective. We had to build a very effective file destroyer, right? So it breaks file headers before a reboot, which then a driver loads. It's the first driver that loads. It deletes the file, and then Windows loads. And if you delete a Windows file at that point, of course, you know what's going to happen, and you've all dealt with it for better or for worse. So, yeah, I mean, that was the worst day of my life, especially in the business. And fortunately for us, I mean, we were on top of it. I'm a big communicator. Like, here's what happened. Here's why it happened. Here's why it will never happen again. I'm not a big believer in evade, because your customers are going to see right through it, and you know that. So yep. we did that, and the engineering team started call individual customers to help them. Engineers should never talk to customers, Scott. But in this case, it was refreshing, and we lost very few customers in that instance, which was the silver lining on all of this. We built close relationships with those users. But yeah, man, that was a tough day. That was a tough day.
Gotcha. So, can you explain how you felt? I mean, can you explain that in words?
I don't want to reflect on those days. I mean, that is the knock on wood, the scenario I wish to never repeat. And so you don't forget things like that. You go back and you start to safeguard. You build safeguards into the product, and it was definitely tough. I mean, I've had my fair share of bad days as a human, right? And you break up with somebody, or you didn't get into the university you wanted, or you got you didn't close the deal you wanted. But that's a whole different animal, where 1 million endpoints, thousands of customers are like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? So I can't even describe it, honestly.
Well, about how long did it take to get it all resolved?
Yeah, a few weeks. I mean, the first couple of hours were, identifying the issue, reverting which was done in 8 minutes, as I said, starting to understand what happened, why it happened, and putting the safeguards in that will never, so it never happens again. Now, are we immune to all false positives? No. If you want to be an effective AV endpoint solution, you've got to take risks in the models. You've got to, and there's so many different types of ways we detect threats that, if some file slips through and Microsoft doesn't digitally sign their stuff, which they don't sometimes, it could be a disaster scenario. But I think we're prepared for the worst, knock on wood, as we went through that journey. Sometimes it just takes a big fuck up like that to set you straight and make sure you don't do it again.
Absolutely. Well, I believe that it's all about transparency, and you guys have always been transparent about everything you've done. So, that's great that you overcame that. I just personally can't imagine that kind of stress, but my hat's off to you for taking it and handling it well. But you talked about risk just a minute ago. Have there been some other major risks that you've taken as a CEO that have paid off for Malwarebytes in the end?
Yeah, interesting question. I think, well, look, we're all business owners on this call. You included, Scott, and we take risks every day, whether it's hiring this person versus that person, spending marketing dollars here or there. Those are always tough. You don't know if they're, if it's going to be fruitful.
Sure.
A big decision we had made. So when I launched the company, we sold Malwarebytes $25 for a perpetual license. I think you're in possession of some of those licenses even to this day.
Yeah.
And so that obviously got the business going. It got humming, and all was well. But we realized that to support those users actually started to cost more and more as we hired. We invested in research and development. Even today we're spending a ton of money into R&D because we believe that helps us differentiate. So the business just selling perpetual licenses and not getting a recurring revenue stream from those consumers in particular was difficult to build and scale the business and to be able to support the millions and millions of users. And the anecdote I think many of you have gone through on the call is, maybe some of you started with a retail shop where break fix was the main attraction, right? People would bring in devices, whether it was B2B or B2C, and the world is shifting to this managed services model, right? And that doesn't come without risks. I can empathize the transition many have had to do of just doing break fix and contract work to, hey, you're going to pay us monthly, we're going to maintain your environment, we're going to respond when needed. And that's the decision we had to do. And this was back in 2010, 2011, where we said, great, we've built this perpetual business and it's growing really nicely, but these users are getting expensive to maintain, and we're worried about our future. And so we switched to subscription, $25 a year. And then we added a bunch of products and we moved to $40 a year. But why was this risky? I think, one, we didn't want to burn a ton of bridges with our customers. Like, especially if you bought a lifetime license, you expect it to be lifetime. So any license we sold in 2008, 2009, 2010 that was perpetual still works today. So we did keep our brand promise with those users. And then we just messaged and communicated openly and clearly why we're moving to subscription, and that's allowed us to fund more engineers, more researchers, in the business, more infrastructure. I mean, the amount of data we have to transact to understand the threats in the world, like all of that is funded because we were able to make that subscription change. So, I think people reacted pretty positively, and so it's all about messaging, it's all about communication. And so I encourage anybody going through the transition of break fix to this managed services model, just keep clear with your customers why this is the right thing for them. That it's not just more revenue. It's so you can scale, build a team. I think people understand that.
Yeah, I think so. It's very difficult too from an IT service provider standpoint to get your customers to understand that, this is truly a better way of helping them moving forward. Instead of, I always tell my clients that, hey, would you rather me charge you every time that you have a problem? And one, you're upset because you have a problem to begin with, and as a provider, it's kind of bad to say, but it's in our favor when you have a problem But managed services is totally different. You know, if you can pay us a minimal fee, we will maintain and monitor your systems, and the goal is to keep you from having problems. So it's rowing the boat the other way, if you ask me.
I'm 100% in your camp. You are all on the right side of history, as they say. MSP is going to have, it already has and is going to have an incredible tailwind. The customers we talk to, Malwarebytes has 20,000 business customers. The customers we talk to are all feeling underserved, underappreciated. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have the people to do it. They're growing their businesses, but are fearful of security issues, of IT issues, of maintaining hundreds of solutions that they might need. You are all on the right side of history, and I think there's a massive push in MSP land. In fact, we've doubled, I'd say doubled, but we've tripled down in MSP with the launch of our OneView product. We went all in. We think selling to SMBs is going to be directly, Malwarebytes, a vendor, selling to SMBs is going to be challenging because they're going to run out of time to manage our solution. They're going to have to manage our solution, Mimecast, Office 365, Zoom, 10 other solutions that I could just name right now. I think you guys are all going to see a healthy revenue stream from managed services, and it's all about positioning, adding value, and for the reasons you just said, Scott, I think customers will appreciate it.
So I wanted to ask you, when you're not running Malwarebytes, what does Marcin like to do in your free time?
Drink
Do you
wine.
have free time?
No, I have a little bit of free time. Look, work hard for the business for sure, but if you can't keep your sanity, there's like that there's an inversion somewhere, right? You can work 120 hours, but you're just not going to be as productive as if you worked 80 and took some time off, or 60, or wherever that sweet spot is for you. So I'm a big believer in, you've got to build a team around you if you can. Invest in somebody, hire the right people. That's a big one, because if you don't hire the right people, you're actually stuck doing all the work anyway. But hire
Sure.
the right folks around you that can help you take some time off. I personally don't take 2 weeks of vacation every year. I do micro vacations, like the weekends are mine, Fridays are mine. But so I love flying. I'm a pilot.
Awesome.
I love cooking. I'm not a good cook, but I love cooking. And if you put those two together, I think it's all about just following process. Like, our lives are so chaotic. We're all business owners. Our lives are so chaotic. So for me, having that just clear, follow this recipe. I can't make up a recipe. I have to follow a recipe, and I think it's just the yin to the yang of the job, right? Where everything's unpredictable, everything's chaos every single day, especially when you're fighting cyber criminals. So those are my two hobbies. We were just chatting when we got on the call this morning or this afternoon. I got a new puppy, so that's keeping my time occupied. A German short-haired pointer, and he's only 4 months, so you can imagine. I know, Scott, you said you had a dog, and it's gonna get better, right?
It's gonna get better. The first 4 months are brutal, I can tell you. You get woken up all hours of the night.
I don't have any kids. I think after this, kids are out, definitely.
Well, what do you do for personal growth? Do you have any books you read, or podcasts you listen to?
Yeah, I'm a reader for sure. I'm like the type of person that buys 2 books for every one I read.
Okay.
So the bookshelf keeps getting filled with stuff I want to read, and trying to find the time and the energy to do so is challenging. On the fiction side, best recommendation I can ever give anybody, as not really an avid reader, I can only do a few books, maybe every few months. Fiction, I Am Pilgrim, crime novel, really great. On the personal growth side, I think there's, I'm looking at my book here. I really like the biographies. So Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, again, 2 big names. Everybody obviously has heard of them. I'm not giving anybody anything revolutionary here, but the biographies were written really well. I like High Output Management by Andy Grove, the CEO of Intel. That was a really good one. I like Principles by Ray Dalio, I think it is. He talks about Principles by Ray Dalio, life and work principles, or like making a set of principles that you abide by. And last but not least, What was I looking at here a minute ago? I like, oh, I lost it, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of great books. Oh, of course, I like um, books like American Kingpin, which was the Silk Road book, and because it
Okay.
has the relation to Bitcoin and stuff like that, and how it's being utilized for illegal activity on the internet. But another great book was the one from Theranos. I think it was Bad Blood. Yeah, by John Carreyrou. So it really just the fucked up things that happened at Theranos with the blood analyzer. You can learn how not to run a business and how things will collapse if you run a business that way. And it's really humbling to see. So that's a mishmash of some stuff that I've read. That's about it. There's The Martian and stuff like that. Really, really great books, but typically just stick to a little bit of a blend of everything.
Well, I'm so glad to hear you say that you buy books and don't read them, because I've got a bookshelf filled with books that I had every intention of reading, but I just never get to them.
Yeah,
So it's crazy like that.
it's a good reminder today. Go read. Go read.
Go read. That's true. That's true. Well, where do you see Malwarebytes or the cybersecurity landscape in the next 5 to 10 years? What's your prediction?
The threats are not abating, as you know. You all see customers at their worst days when ransomware has taken over their entire environment, when a nation state attack, like even Malwarebytes was affected by a nation state attack. They were able to read some subset of our emails. The same one with SolarWinds. We put this on the blog. We were one of about 75 companies that the FBI was working with based on the SolarWinds breach, the Microsoft involvement, all of that. So the problem's not going away. Even a security company like us, and there were several others that came out of the woodwork, including Mimecast, will have difficulty maintaining a secure environment. So where am I going with all of this? The first is prevention is one element of it. Gone are the days of I have a silver bullet, it'll block every threat. I know you all know this. So investing in technologies like EDR, our specific EDR product is mass market. We don't believe in just a ton of noise, go figure out through thousands of logs what to do. So I do believe EDR capabilities are important. I think all of y'all are super relevant in the next act of security. MSPs are going to be the saving grace to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of businesses out there who just do not know how to protect themselves. You will be their saviors. That is my opinion on the matter. And then the threat landscape is going to continue to evolve. Every day that goes by, I continue to be impressed by the tenacity and innovation of these cyber criminals. From Bitcoin miners in the browser to how they deploy ransomware attacks to how the phishing emails look to how social engineering is going to all of these things. I mean, there's it's a finite, but it's a large finite number of ways these attackers have gone in, and we don't even know half of the ways that they're going to in the future. So investing in a layered defense is really important. I think that's I've said a lot there, but I think those are all crucial points to cover, and it's why we're doubling down on MSP, on EDR, on kind of recovery mechanisms like isolation of endpoints, stuff like that, because gone are the days of signatures detecting malware. I mean, again, nothing you don't know already.
So ransomware is a huge concern, and ransomware, it used to be that you could just get a virus back in the Bonsai Buddy days, and you could, hit a couple keystrokes and, remediate it relatively easily. But now with the development of ransomware, and actually, I know you've heard of it too, ransomware as a service. So if you've got a target in mind, you can actually deploy a kit to them and ransom them, and you don't even have to understand how to create it.
Yeah, these things are turnkey. Just like you can buy software off the shelf and protect your users, these primitive attackers, ones that haven't investigated or invested a ton of time, can buy turnkey services on the dark web. I mean, these things are pretty easily accessible. There's the commodity stuff, but there's also the nation state stuff, and exploits are being passed around as well, right? For some for thousands of dollars, some for millions of dollars. There are zero-day vulnerabilities that we're not even aware of that nation states are buying, whether it's in the iPhone, in the Chrome browser, in PDF readers, in Zoom, in Outlook. I mean, the list goes on. In Malwarebytes, frankly, I mean, this is something we do proactively. We scrub our source. We look at potential vulnerabilities. We work with pen testing companies. We have to. Otherwise, if we become part of supply chain attack, knock on wood, like SolarWinds did, I mean, that's bad news for all parties involved. So
For everyone.
yeah, for everyone. I mean, it's something the world needs to continue to invest in. So I do think these turnkey attacks are going to continue, and Bitcoin has empowered a lot of that because it is for the most part an anonymous currency, or crypto rather. Let's not just pinpoint Bitcoin. Crypto has enabled a lot of this because it is a way to trade these types of threats, and collect money anonymously.
Are you into Bitcoin yourself? Do you like Bitcoin?
I used to have this like big old mining rig back in 2011, and it was doing like 1 Bitcoin every 2 days, which if I look at the math now would have been like $50,000 every 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Who knew, right?
Right.
That I sold everything for a nice little profit that basically paid for the rig. But yeah, I'm not a visionary in that regard. And then you see this Dogecoin, craze, and all my friends are saying buy, 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 and I'm like, I don't know, I can't. The whole idea behind Dogecoin is that it literally devalues the currency every day, and then you see GameStop and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not much of a gambler, but to each their own. We've got plenty of stuff to do, and
Yeah,
I
that
try to
that
do a
was
little bit of that.
incredible. The GameStop, I followed that when that whole thing happened, and I guess the basics of it is that a bunch of people got together on social media and basically just pulled the resources together and basically changed the price of the stock in their favor, and it just shot up.
It's the power of crowdsourcing, right? And our anecdote is, look at all the users we have that we can glean telemetry and threat landscape from. I mean, it is pretty powerful to be able to use. I think everything's moving crowdsourced, because being able to leverage the crowd like that to do, whether it's the illegal activity, maybe like getting the GameStop stock up. I was a buyer a little bit, just FYI. Or power a threat detection engine, or your mileage may vary, whatever that might be. So
I bought into GameStop too, but when I made a little bit of money, I quit, and I didn't have the
yeah,
guts to get back in it. And then
same here.
I watched it fall, and then it came back up again, and I was like, oh my goodness. It just kind of seemed to me like a pump and dump situation.
Yeah, amazing, isn't
It
it?
is, but I know a lot of people did really well on it. Pretty
I'm gonna
interesting.
I'm gonna I'm gonna stick with technology. And security. That's all I'm good at. So predicting the stock market, not my forte.
Well, speaking of CEOs, is there any CEOs that you look up to that you think about all the time that they do a great job? You mentioned Elon Musk.
Yeah, there's the figures in the media, right, that have built amazing businesses. I obviously, you don't know them personally, so or have worked with them, so you don't know. But people that I respect in my industry, one of our board members, that's the CEO, Gary Steele. He's the CEO of Proofpoint, which
Hmm.
I think is obviously you're familiar with. It's a nice business. I work with the CEO of Coalition. We have a partnership there. They're SMB cyber insurance provider. So very inexpensive cybersecurity insurance for SMB, which I highly encourage everybody to look at, because I think that they want to pay the premium, or they want to help
Sure.
respond, right? Like that's their whole business model. I think the CEO of Cloudflare, I think they've built a phenomenal business. I know you're familiar with Cloudflare. Yeah, there's a lot of great people in the industry, and I'll speak for myself. Anybody on this call, if they reached out to me directly at marcin@malwarebytes.com, they'll always get a response. And if you're curious about a different business, whether it's any of the ones I just named, shoot your shot. Why don't you just reach out and learn some more? I'm on the ITBOG group, so happy to engage there. But we're not some like strangers in the night that will never respond to email, right? If you want to reach out to folks and learn more and have conversations like this, I strongly encourage it. But yeah,
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to kind of touch on a new product that Malwarebytes is offering. It's geared towards the MSPs, I believe, right? OneView, is that what it's called?
yeah. So Scott, as we talked about, I think MSPs just are going to have this massive tailwind in our industry. And when we looked at our solution, going all the way back to 2008, a consumer product, a single agent that you had to install on every device, obviously that can't be managed. Whether that business is 25 employees, 500 employees, like nobody on this call could manage, individually Malwarebytes. So at that time, we built a cloud-based managed console, right? You go in, you deploy a sensor, an agent, all the information's there. Well, when it came time to MSP, as you all know, that use case changes. Now you have to manage different consoles. Yeah, the problem is easier, but it's still harder. And so this is where I know all y'all use RMMs, whether it's ConnectWise or Ninja RMM or Datto for management. And we built our own flavor of that called OneView, which is just multi-tenant based capabilities for our cloud-based solution. So you basically log into OneView. If you're an MSP, you have 50 customers, so you add all the sites, and each of them gets provisioned an account. Each of them you can deploy an endpoint agent. All of that rolls up nicely, and it's like just a really intuitive solution, really guided by our MSP partners. In this case, it was them saying, "Here's what we want. Don't innovate further. This is what we want, and go build it." And so we did, and it's taken off like a rocket ship, and we're really proud of that. And it's really all you guys that support that. So happy to engage on that further. But that's it's a really well growing solution for us, and I think customers like it. So.
Well, Malwarebytes to me has always been innovative. You guys have several products, not just your, I guess your flagship product, MBAM, Malwarebytes Anti-Malware. The TechBench. I love the TechBench. I was a beta tester, so,
Yes.
but I'm proud to say that we use it all the time, even with our managed clients. So it's not just a break fix solution to us. It's quite frankly a tool that if I need an answer quick and I don't want to just go through systematically and check things, I can just deploy that tool, and then that tool will give me blue screen reports. It will tell me all kind of things. So yeah, that's great. But I remember when the tool was first created, and as being a beta tester, we were able to go in and give you guys feedback. We like this, we don't like that, or you should add this, and Malwarebytes adds it. So my hat's off to you for that. That's a really good thing.
Well, it's funny if you go back to 2007 when we built Malwarebytes version 0.25, or I started as 0.01. Only after a few months did we go 1.0.0. It was all community driven. Me and Bruce, we'd like build software at night, till 3 a.m, push it out on the forum and say, "What do you think?" Wake up to feedback and repeat. And so really it's a great way to develop early technology. On the TechBench side, I agree. Like there's some really cool stuff that it can pull together for diagnostics, repair, and so on. And I'm really keen on bringing it to OneView, because our MSPs should not have to use 2 different solutions. So I know we have a work stream on bringing just the robustness of that capability all into the cloud console, so that you could just manage it right there and then. And for the same cost. It's not like we want to charge more for that. So, I think it's really cool to be able to build stuff and get rapid feedback like that from users. You don't get that in other industries, like building cars or or
That's
rockets or
right.
whatever. So,
Well,
I don't know.
Elon tweets. See, Elon will tweet about Teslas. So we're getting this new feature, or I don't know. You're not a tweeter, are you? Do you tweet?
I'm so bad at it. I want to be good at it. I want to interact with people. I'm just so bad at it. The best way to get a hold of me is email or call me. But I will find a tweet once in a while, stuck in the inbox.
Yeah, I've had Twitter forever, honestly, and for years and years, and I don't think I've checked it in 2 years.
And even
I'm a
Facebook, right?
Facebook guy.
Yeah, even Facebook. I use it to follow, the message board here and a couple of friends. But even then, social media is just getting so interesting. I mean, the effect of that, and I mean, it's a pretty powerful attack vector too. I mean, we have employees ourselves that LinkedIn, phishing, getting out of email and going into social media. So how do you protect that? It's just yet another opportunity for attackers.
That is true. Well, speaking of hackers, you guys have an event coming up May 5th, I believe, right? With Kevin Mitnick.
Yeah, open to all. Kevin Mitnick, big storylines behind Kevin there, who obviously is a notoriously well-known hacker from the old days. Spent time in jail, and I think I saw some people on the message board say, they have a lock pick from him, or a lock pick set. Maybe it was you, Scott, but he's since reformed, of course, and knows quite a bit about hacking. He's a founder of KnowBe4, and we're going to have him as a guest speaker for one of our events as well. All are welcome, obviously completely free. Scott, I think you posted something on the IT Business Owners group, and look forward to seeing you all there. But I think it's a pretty cool event. And again, learn from somebody who's done it and seen it, so that you can respond to it.
Yeah, I've heard of Kevin Mitnick for years and years and years, but I've never had an opportunity to watch or really dive deep into it. So I'm definitely going to watch and learn and see the man behind the myth. So
agreed. Me too. I've not had the pleasure of meeting him, but I know he's doing some great work at KnowBe4. I'm sure a lot of you are KnowBe4 users as well.
Absolutely. Well, Marcin, I can't thank you enough for doing this with me. This was a great thing. I've certainly enjoyed, and thank you for your time.
I appreciate you too, Scott. And for those of you who've joined us from the Malwarebytes side, I strongly recommend the IT Business Owners group. It's a phenomenal group of people. I think 4,000 plus people strong now.
Yeah, we're about 4,000 people now, a little over.
Yeah, so 4,000 practitioners, real people who are out there fighting the good fight. So Scott, big plug to you guys as well for the people that joined us from the Malwarebytes side, and thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, if anyone is on and wants to join the IT Business Owners group, the easiest way is just go to facebook.com/groups/ITBOG and just answer the vetting questions, and we'll let you in.
All right, Scott, thanks so much.
Thanks. Scott and Marcin, thank you so much for that great conversation. We want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar. We will be sending out the recording to everyone within a few days. Thanks again and have a great day.